Hello, thank you for joining me today. I'm Gretchen with Healing from Within with Cancer. I know in my last video I had spoke to you about how I was going to go down the road with you of my quarterly appointments that I had with my surgeon, what we had discussed, how things were going, my goals that I was reaching and far surpassing through this time period that my surgeon just didn't want to believe. I guess when you learn so much in textbook and obviously in theory, and of course what they learn elsewhere in seminars and so on and so forth. They don't necessarily think outside the box because they've been trained to only go with, one way. They don't have forks in the road and they don't take different avenues. This is what they know. This is what they do. And these are things that I took my surgeon into unfamiliar territory, which I'm glad that I did. I did enlighten him on a lot of things that I'm not sure if he was aware of or he chose not to acknowledge. I'm really not sure what the end result was in all of this, but I can say that I definitely enlightened him with the way that I was healing. So I know I have talked about my right after surgery. That was like me feeling like a truck hit me, and when I left the hospital, they had to pull all of these wonderful tubes and bags and stitches and all kinds of stuff out of me and off of me. And I wasn't 100% sure, because, nothing was functioning the way I had anticipated it to. And it was very scary, very, very scary. But I chose that, this was the path that I was going to take and I was going to stick to it. Well, moving forward 3 months, that was my first checkup. And that was, something that my surgeon was very concerned about, being that I chose a different path than he normally takes when it comes to surgery and putting somebody back together again. That was an eye opener for him, to say the least, because my body was healing so fabulously. Where he had put everything back together again was healing. The stitches were, mending very nicely. And my body was starting at that point to function on a much more regular basis. There's, a lot of muscles that you contract and all of that kind of good stuff that he wasn't sure were going to work. I wasn't sure they were going to work, but um, it was happening. So, a lot of it was mind over matter for me. I was very conscious about, that this all has to work, right? And I kept telling myself, we're going to go back to normal. And you can call it whatever you want to, whether it was through prayer, manifestation, um, just, putting it out to the world, the energies of the world. I don't care what you think or how you do things, but staying positive, no matter which way it is, no matter which route you take, that's what I did. And honestly, I did a lot of everything because I said nothing's going to hurt, right? That I'm talking about with God and the universe and anything else, anything positive that I can get back is going to be worth all the efforts in the world. So I did do that every morning. I would wake up and I still do today. I make time for prayer and for positive thoughts and to be thankful. I'm very, very thankful for everything that I have in my life. And, I'm not where I want to be 100% when it comes to other things that are going on in my life. But as far as my health goes, I am so, so thankful that I am exactly and I have far surpassed what I had put out there for myself. I live a very uh, positive, life that is filled with fun and laughter and enjoying the simple things in life, as well as, fun things that, not everybody gets to enjoy. And I make sure that I have time for all of these things, because we should be just so thankful, just to be able to have a roof over our head, correct? And that's where I said, you know what, every day from here on out is a blessing to me, no matter what. Even if I didn't go through this scare that people have when it comes to cancer, um I'm a firm believer in being thankful for everything and blessed for everything that I have around me. And that includes my family, my friends. It's not about the material things, and I'm very blessed with, a number of things in my life, but I'm also more so, should I say, blessed with still being on this side of the dirt and being able to enjoy every single day that I am here and making the most of it. But yeah, it was definitely very difficult for my surgeon to understand this positive thought process that I have, because when a negative thought would come into my mind, I thought about it for a second, and then I immediately turned it around because it was negative, and I said, no, no, this isn't, you're stronger than this. And you're going to conquer all of this and then some. So I immediately would take that negative thought and turn it around and figure out what was going to be positive about this negative thought, and make sure that there wasn't anything negative. Like, am I going to be able to do this? That's just an example. Are my supplements and the way that I'm eating, is that going to be enough? Am I going to fail at this and be back to square one? Well, I never allowed myself to think that, ever. And if it did come into my mind for a split second, I was like, oh, hell no, you got this. You have this down to a science. So don't ever doubt yourself. And these are things that I'm not sure a lot of people understand are very, very powerful, because I've talked about the mind being a very powerful thing. And, I've read stories about people that when they think that they're sick, then they become sick, right? So I was not going to be sick any longer. I was not going to allow this cancer to take me over. And I said, no, I have control of this, and I'm going to make this work. So those were the things that I kept telling myself is no, no. And I wasn't going to go fall back on my sword and go down the road of chemo and radiation, because I really wasn't sure of what was going on, but that's okay. I was still going to fight this my way. And still to this day, 2+ years, from it, I am still fighting it on my terms that I feel are going to be best for me. And I can tell you that I don't have any issues with anything that are going on in my life. So I know what I'm doing is working for sure. But what I did through the 3 month, the 6 month, the 9 month, and then of course the year, they were all follow ups with blood work and exams to make sure that I was healing properly. And I was doing my supplements, and they always wanted to document my supplements. My surgeon's assistant was always documenting what I was doing, what I was taking, what type of exercise I was doing, any type of things that they needed to be aware of. So what I didn't realize was my surgeon was pretty much so making a case study out of me, which I'm totally fine with. Why not, right? I mean, I kind of opened myself up to a lot of different things that most people wouldn't allow themselves to do or would be too afraid to do. And I chose that, my life is an open book right now. And I need to share this with people so they understand that they do have options. And where I was going with it, I knew the goal, but I wasn't exactly sure all the time how I was going to get to that goal. But little by little, through the supplements and through the eating and staying as stress free as I possibly could. And I mean, that's of course a huge issue with the last 2 years that have gone on with anybody. I mean, there's just been so many different things, people losing their jobs and there's just financial burdens and just all the other things, the stuff that's just going on in the world. We weren't able to get out and enjoy each other's company and all of those things, that a lot of people were just stuck, and it created a lot of depression for a lot of people. I know that I could have fallen down that rabbit hole as well, but I chose not to. I chose to stay involved with people and see as many people as I could and talk about what was going on with me, because that's very therapeutic. Some people aren't able to do what I do when it comes to talking about this journey, because they get very emotional and they just want to shut down. I, on the other hand, want to share my life experiences with other people, to know that you're not alone and to help you out and to be your cheerleader for whatever you're going through. And that's not always easy for other people to talk about, but I found that that was very therapeutic for me to discuss these things. So while I was going through my 3, 6, 9, and 12-month checkup, he was documenting, meaning my surgeon, was documenting what I was doing. And at the year checkup, that's when I did a colonoscopy and another CT scan, along with plenty of blood work. And everything came back wonderful. So it was very nice to know that the path that I had chosen, and the supplements and the eating and the positive mindset, had all worked for me. And I know that they won't talk about being cancer free for 5 years, but I'm sorry, I'm cancer free, and I will remain cancer free, regardless of what the medical industry wants to tell you. You know what? If it's going to come back, from what I'm understanding, that it already would have within that year time frame. And then it was funny because my surgeon had pushed that goalpost back to the second year. And I'm like, okay, great, that's fine. Initially we talked about a year, but now you're pushing it back because you're just not 100% sure. And I'm okay with that. Oh, okay. If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do to give yourself peace of mind. But I know myself, these numbers don't lie, and I'm good with that. So he decided to confide in me, because he asked me every single time I would go in. He said, I don't know what you're doing, but every single time I see you when you come in for an appointment, you're beaming with, just a smile, and so happy and so positive. And he just didn't understand that I was fighting this on my own, and I was okay with that, but I was going to stay positive regardless. And so I had told him, I said, it's truly a mindset, that you just it's not just because of this illness. It is my life. It is the way that I do things in my life. If there's something negative that's going on around me and I can't flip it around for whatever reason, I will remove myself from that situation or that person or that wherever, whatever it is, I'm removing myself from that. If I can't flip this around and turn it into a positive, I'm taking myself out of the equation. And that's, once again, as I talked about before in a couple videos, of being selfish. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish and taking care of your body and your mind. So if it's not suiting you, you need to remove yourself from that. But so he decided to share a story with me about his son, which I had no idea. I knew that he did have a couple children, but I was not aware of his son. So he decided to share the story with me that I cannot recall if he was 10 or 12, but he was somewhere in that age. And he didn't indicate what kind of cancer he had, but he did say that his son had had cancer and that he wished that he would have thought outside the box like I did. And otherwise, things would have been different. So, me being the nosy person that I am, when somebody brings something like that to the table, I asked what happened. And he said, unfortunately, he had passed away. But hindsight being 2020, he really wished that he would have met me sooner because he would have did things differently with his son. He would have made different choices with his son that he didn't do, and he wished now that he would have. So this is coming directly from a surgeon that had his own personal experience with, a family member, and he lost that son, from cancer, and he wished that he would have tried a couple different things instead of always, doing what the protocol is that they talk about all the time. Because I've read so many different stories about radiation and chemo, of what it does to you, and it's never good. So those things, unfortunately, he chose to do with his son, and he had lost his son. So when this is coming from a surgeon in the medical profession that's telling you that I wish I would have done things differently, you know that the system, I guess, would be what I would call broke, because they just don't enlighten you to the other things that are out there, because they really truly don't want to heal you and cure you. They want you as a lifelong patient. So remember that, when you're making these choices that you have to make. It's not easy, and it's not for everybody. So I'm not saying that this is, but the ones that do want to step outside the box and look at things from a different perspective and realize that you do have options, I say research, 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 research. There's so many things out there that are available to us now. And I believe it was because of what has been transpiring over the past 2 years, that we've had a lot of doctors come out and speak against things that now they are they're obviously a lot more well known out there in the public eye than they were when I was going through things. So there's many wellness centers that have doctors that are affiliated with these wellness centers, that they're just spreading the word on a lot of different ways that you can heal yourself. And that's something that I can't emphasize enough, is get options, talk to as many people as you can, do your research, make your choices. Because, like I said before, what works for one person isn't always going to work for another person. And that's why, it comes right down to schooling, right? No two students learn the same. Well, it's the same thing when we go through, like a surgery. Just because my surgeon has done this type of surgery 1,000 times over, for different patients, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be good for me. And I definitely challenged that and showed my surgeon a different way of doing things, which he was very happy to discover that I was right. And he takes a step back all the time and says, well, I have to give you credit where credit's due. You were right and I was wrong. So that's something that I, once again, will reiterate. Do your research. Go get multiple opinions. Find somebody that you're comfortable with and talk to them about the alternative ways that you want to do things. Because even though they may not be your biggest advocate for it, they will at least support you in those decisions. And not always easy to find, but there's plenty of doctors out there that will, do these things. And then once again, I emphasize about, taking things stress free. Eliminate the stress that's in your life. Eliminate the people or the places or the environments that you're in. This is about you and only you, and this is your journey, and you have to stay laser focused on healing. So right now, where I'm at is I feel great. I don't have any issues with anything to talk about, so that's a wonderful thing. I don't have any problems with um, literally anything. Like all my bodily functions are working, and I still get the common cold and stuff like that, but I recover. I'm not immune compromised. A lot of people thought that I would be, and I'm not. I ramp up my zinc when I'm not feeling so well, which of course I've just been run down with a first communion party for my daughter this past weekend. So I'm definitely not 100% today, but and I'm feeling a little under the weather with all the pollen. I'm not one that has allergies too much, but unfortunately, it's affecting me somehow, some way. So I'm just normal is where I want to let people know that I've gone back to my own normalcy. And yes, there are foods that I've talked about in previous videos that I cannot eat, so I stay away from those. And occasionally, if I really truly want to test the waters, I'll give it a shot with a little bit here, a little bit there, and see if I'm able to digest, the things that I once upon a time loved that I had to stay away from for a while. And slowly but surely, I'm reintroducing those into my diet little by little, but I'm not taking it over the top. And just staying on focus with where I want to be health wise. I was out this past weekend with a lot of family and friends, and we had talked about. I actually competed in three different, I guess you would call them dashes. Two were the Warrior Dash, where it's a 5K run, and I think it was 12 or 15 course, military obstacle course that I did. And unfortunately, things were shut down the one year, so I couldn't compete. But then they did. I saw that there was, I believe it's called the Mud Girl, and I competed in that last year. So I set personal goals for myself that I want to accomplish. And I'm not into, the heavy weightlifting like I used to, or the kickboxing. I used to do that when I was in my 40s, and almost made it like a lifelong career, and realized that just, sometimes that you get into things and you get into a routine and it's all good and everything, but then you realize, okay, I've reached those goals, and where else am I going to take this? I'm not going to be all massive with muscles. That's not really where I wanted to be. So I set personal goals for myself when it comes to, my physical end of my life. And we were talking about, there's another one that's coming up. Unfortunately, I missed it this year, but it will be next year. It sounds tougher, and I'm up for the challenge. But I think setting goals for ourselves, to know that, okay, this, I reached this one, and these are milestones, and let's move on and keep doing this. And I do this in my career as well, where I set boundaries on what I want to attain in X amount of time, and then I do that as well in my personal life. Um, so a lot of moving parts all the time, but I think when we have these goals, that it gives us something to work for. A lot of people don't understand when they have no goals. What are you working for? Are you just here on a daily basis? Are you just, surviving? Don't do that. Because life has so much to offer, and you're missing out on so many things. And I realized that I don't want to miss anything. I want to enjoy everything. My kids and my friends that I go and do things with. All of these things are very, very important to me. And I think when you surround yourself with good people, good positive people, they're also your cheerleader as well. And these are things that I look at as a lifelong goal, is to stay positive and to continue to have these wonderful people in my life. Now, when it comes to relationships, of course, I had talked briefly about, the ins and outs of relationship. And it's that's something that I can say can play havoc with your health. If you're in a toxic relationship, that's not going to help the cause when, you're trying to heal yourself. And if I can, if I can tell anybody anything, it's even if you just kind of have to put things on pause for a moment while you're doing things, remove yourself from the situation, or put that relationship on pause, or move yourself to another area of your home if you can't, if you're married and things aren't going well. But those will definitely have a huge impact negatively if you don't be careful with stuff like that. So stay away from that kind of stuff. Surround yourself with good people, good supporting people, and that way, you have a very well-rounded environment for yourself to heal and to move forward. And also, when you're thinking about all of these wonderful things that you want to accomplish, once you're through with, going through all these tests and, figuring out everything, it's it gives you a sense of accomplishment. You have done it. And guess what? You did it all on your own. You chose to take this path and you did it. And you should be so proud of who you are and what you've accomplished. So where I'm at today is I've patted myself on the back and said, "Yay, you!" And you did it. But I'm also wanting to share this journey and also to open myself up to questions that anybody may have, or where they're trying to find something and move on from. So because you can't get stuck in research, I can tell you that. There's, the World Wide Web has just so much information, and sometimes we just need a little bit of guidance, and I'm more than happy to help anybody that needs that. But in my next video, I really would like to discuss taking life where we're at today, 2 years out, and where do I see myself? Where do I want to go with my life? Where do I want to be? What do I want to do when I grow up, right? And my kids ask me that occasionally. They're like, "Are you ever going to grow up?" But it's really setting these life goals for yourself and where you're going to take yourself to that next level, and to stay positive. And I guess you could say that I'm trying to, be motivational for other people, and to make sure that they stay on course with everything that's going on. But if you have any questions, please, reach out to me in the comments section or my email that I have listed in the description. And I'm more than happy to answer anything. Or if there is a subject that you want to talk about that I haven't covered or that you're curious of, I'm more than happy to cover that as well. So please reach out to me and let me know. Give me some feedback so I know what people are interested in hearing about and what I can focus in on more. But until next time, have a wonderful day. Talk soon.